How's everybody doing today? I came on here today because I had a rapture dream. I've had rapture dreams in the past. The one I just had was probably like my fifth one. I've had maybe two or three that I felt like didn't make much sense. They were kind of more like, I felt like they were more from the subconscious than they were actually from God, you know? I mean, I had one. I remember my first one was like I saw like buildings collapsing in the sky. They were like brown buildings almost crumbling, like 9/11. And then I saw people running around in the sky. And then I look over and I saw like a man with two people knelt by his side, a man with a beard coming just straight at me. And I was like, I felt like I was almost underwater, like I almost like lost breath. And then next thing you know, everything turned white and the dream was over. So it was like Jesus was coming at me. That may have been from God. I think it was because of the man on the cloud with coming at me with the two people knelt by his side. But then I was another one where I was like at my old job, and then everything kind of just started disappearing, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And next thing you know, I just felt like myself going, and then dream was over, you know. So it was like one of those weird. I think more from the subconscious, and then there was another one. Oops, sorry about that. My camera just kind of fell. Then there was another one where I'm trying to think. I think there was two other ones. Yes, there was two other ones. There was one where there was a two moon one, and I've been seeing more two moon dreams lately, which I didn't understand at the time when I had it, but I've I've been seeing now that people are having two moon dreams. So I remember I was actually at my grandmother's house for some reason. I used to live there. Oh, geez, I think I moved out of there almost 30 years ago. But I remember I was in her living room and looking out her window, and I saw a moon like over here, and then I saw like another moon over here. And for some reason, seeing those two moons, like I've heard people say that there's like one moon that looks really fake and another looks real. In my dream, they were both real moons. They just both were just two moons in two different spots. And for some reason, when I saw those two moons, I knew the rapture was happening. And then I started seeing this like little tornado thing going down the street, just kind of picking people up. So I ran outside to go meet this tornado to pick me up, and then I kind of like run into it again. Everything kind of fades out. Dream's over. Um, there's another one. The fourth one was there was like some weird swirling in the sky, and my father looks out the window. My father passed away in 2018, and I had this dream. I want to say maybe a year ago. Um, so he's alive in this dream, looking out the window, and he goes, "Look at that." He's like, "What's that in the sky?" And I was just like, "Oh my God!" I was like, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I think that rapture thing you were talking about. I think that's what that is." And and I never told him what I felt about the rapture because he passed away before the rapture really started kind of like coming into my mind and in my spirit, or this Holy Spirit in me, So um, so I remember like loud voice goes, "Come to Jesus now." And I'm like, "Yeah, Dad, this is definitely it." So we go outside. Next thing I know, I see meteor showers. There's meteors dropping everywhere. And then I go to find my mother. I actually go wake my mother up, and she's not waking up. She's almost like really deep in a sleep, and then she almost like doesn't want to hear it. Sorry about that. And then so I'll back up a little bit. And then she finally wakes up. She comes to. Then we find my sister, and then we're finally like, okay, like let's go, go find our way to Jesus now. The next thing you know, we're kind of running around. We're meeting up with people, and it's like this weird thing where it's almost like delayed. And then finally, like the night passes, because for some reason in the dream I remember it was like 1:11 in the morning. I almost remember the time exactly. And then we're running around all night. Next thing you know, the morning comes. We find these people, and then we end up in their backyard, and then the dream is over. But the rapture never happened. So that's one, two, three, four. I think I just named four of them right there. So now, what did those dreams all have in common? I was never actually raptured in any of them. It was coming, or right when I was getting raptured, the dream ended. Now, this fifth one that I had, the reason this one is so special is because I actually got raptured in this dream. And I actually experienced life after I was raptured. This is why this one I was undoubtedly from God, and it was just this one was just completely just you know I was upset waking up. Let's put it that way. Um, so what happened was I was just kind of standing outside amongst people. Like it was kind of vague, nothing. I don't know why I was out there, and next thing I know, I just see like the clouds like were like kind of like looking like they were like trying to speak in a sense. Like they were kind of moving and not bouncing, but just kind of swaying. And somebody just said to me, and I don't know who the person says, like, "All right, look up, let's wait." And it was like I knew that that's what was happening. And then I look up, and then you just kind of see like the clouds start really moving around, and we're like, "Okay, this is it, right?" So then I see a friend of mine, and I grabbed my friend by the arm. I said, "This is it. This is happening." My friend's like, "Oh my god, I think you're right." And then next thing you know, you hear like this kind of electrical wave sound of like almost like zapping, like it builds up, and then there was like a zap. All of a sudden, I'm gone. But then I'm back on Earth. But I feel I could tell that God has got a hold of me. All of a sudden, I felt like I was walking the Earth, but I wasn't part of it anymore. And I felt like everything was better and I was good. And then I saw people kind of running around. So now I'm almost like witnessing the rapture happening. Even though the rapture is supposed to be a split second, so like I understand what people might be thinking hearing this right now. So let me explain that part of it. What I'm thinking and what it felt like happened was, so God acts on his own time. He doesn't act on the same time as we do here. It was almost like I got pulled into God's timing. And while the rapture was imminent for the people that were left behind, so I want to stress that, they just saw it done. It was gone. Everybody was gone. What happened? For the people that raptured, it was almost like we got pulled into God's time, and it was almost like I was helping him with the rapture. If that makes sense, I know it probably doesn't, but it was. I was walking around. I was like, okay, he got me, and I felt it in my soul. Like I felt complete, and I felt good. I felt whole, and I was like, this, okay. So I remember saying, "Do you need me to stay here and help you try to get more people out of here?" And I just heard a voice go, "Yes." So I started going around to people like that were like left behind. I started like putting my hand over them, and there was like a wave coming from my hand trying to pull these people. And if they wouldn't budge, it meant that they rejected God, and they wanted to stay. Because by me putting my hand over them was me pouring out God's Holy Spirit through me onto them. And it was like when we got pulled into his time, um, where the rapture was imminent, it was an event for the people that were raptured that were almost like helping God um, execute the rapture. I know it sounds kind of crazy, but I mean, I can't really. This is not something like a way that I think of things. This is not. I'm a logical person, so even for me, I'm like, this is kind of wild. So I'm putting my hand over people, and if they're staying, that means that they they made their choice, and um, if I that part was a little blurry, like, but I don't think I got any. I think I might have gotten one person, and I think that's all God really wanted was just for me to do my part. And then I might have gotten one person to go. I can't really remember. It was kind of that part was kind of vague. But what I do remember going forward after that is seeing people left behind, and the people that were left behind, the majority of them, you imagine people are going to be crying and screaming, "Oh my God, what happened? Where's my kids? Where's this and that and that?" The majority of the people in my dream, and this seems like it could be really true, seemed relieved that they were left behind. They seemed relieved, "Oh my God, it didn't happen to me." if you think about it, that makes sense because the people that are going to be left behind are going to be selfish, self-serving people. So it makes sense that they're going to be like, "Oh, thank God I got left behind," or "Thank God whatever just happened to all these people didn't happen to me." You know. So now, after all that's done, I remember. All right, now I'm looking up. I'm still on the earth, but I'm not amongst everybody. I'm kind of just like I'm like outside of it, but I'm walking around them, and I'm still here, but I actually feel consumed, and I feel possessed by God at this point, and I could feel it in my soul because I felt like I was okay. I'm a person that suffers depression, anxiety. I don't feel okay every single day that I wake up. I feel something's always empty in here. And I felt it that everything was all well. And it was finally better. Everything was better. That's the best way I could put it. So I'm looking, and because like the thing is, like, even though I was still on the earth walking around, like, I knew God had me. So that's the difference. It wasn't like I was questioning, like, oh my God, did I get left behind? I knew I was raptured because I just felt it. I felt possessed by God. So, um, but He just kept me around to do a little more work. And then I look up in the sky, and I look around the trees. The sky, which was actually like sun and clouds before the rapture happened, suddenly dark clouds, and all the trees started dying. And it was like everything immediately just started turning to hell, and to put it pretty much, it's going to become hell on earth, but it started turning into that right away with things dying and the darkness coming over. So after I see that, I find myself kind of in this, kind of yard area, like a big area where it's almost like grass, and there's like a building in the middle. It's all dark. It's. Next thing I know, the sky starts turning extremely blue, and then the sun comes out, and the sun is so orange, and then the wind is so crisp and powerful. My senses were so heightened. It was like basically I wasn't getting pulled to heaven per se, but it was almost like the earth that we know was transforming into heaven, because it was almost like the dream was telling me basically what heaven is it's the same as this earth, but the way the earth was supposed to be, and the way humans were supposed to walk it. um, so it was like the area I was in started transforming into what is heaven. And I and next thing you know, raindrops and rain started falling from the sky, with the blue sky and the orange sun, crystal clear, no clouds. And it was like the most refreshing rain I've ever felt, but it didn't keep me wet. Like it was hitting me and it was refreshing, but my clothes weren't getting wet and I wasn't staying wet from it. And it was almost like God started washing us off. Next thing I know, the building in the middle that I was talking about before, all of a sudden, big sign appears on it that says House of God. So I start walking towards it. I'm like, okay, I guess it's my time to go home now. Next thing I know, I start seeing family members in the yard over there, and they just look like they're so centered, and anything that flawed them or, you know, ran them into the ground, or was like a stronghold for them, was gone. You could see it, that it was lifted, and everybody just seemed okay. And then next thing you know, like, I remember I just started really smiling, and I knew that as better that things have gotten, and as okay as I've started to feel that it was only going to get better, I just smiled. Next thing I know, starts to fade away, and I notice I'm starting to wake up, and I'm smiling as I'm waking up. And then I woke up, and I'm like, why am I still here? So yeah, the reason I had to talk about this one is because this one was undoubtedly from God. It was the only one that I had that where I actually was raptured, and it was interesting because it was like I was pulled into God's time, and the rapture was like an event for His followers, but it was still an instant for the people that were left behind. So I mean I this isn't a dream my subconscious or the devil could come up with. I feel like so. I would say I believe that's from God, and the reason I also really believe it's from God is because of how I felt. Like I felt well, you know. I felt cured. I felt like all my troubles were over, my sickness, my worry. I didn't feel like it was almost like a high, like I got something that I wanted, and I got relief from that. It wasn't like that. It was like just, you know, when we're all on Earth, there's always something inside us that feels like unfulfilled and separated. You know, and that's because we are separated from God, and Jesus built that bridge for us to get back to Him. And it was like it was that feeling was gone. I was like I knew where that like I was where I belonged, and I knew I was good, and there was nothing that was going to change that. And that for me can only be from God. So if you have any other thoughts, I would love to hear it, but hopefully that encourages somebody. So thank you for listening. Have a blessed week.